You check the vitals of the planet one last time. The readings on your gauntlet are grim. Carbon levels are spiking higher than a caffeine addict's heart rate. You stand on the edge of the observation deck. Below you lies a world that has forgotten how to breathe. Thick smog chokes the valleys like dirty cotton. It is a patient in critical condition, and you are the only one with the cure. You adjust the seals on your suit. The hiss of oxygen is your only companion here. Most would look at this dust ball and see a graveyard, but you see a pulse. It is faint and thready. You tap the glass of your helmet. It is time to get to work. You descend the lift into the heart of the station. The metal groans under the pressure of the storms outside. You reach the main console. It is covered in dust thick enough to plant potatoes in. You wipe it clean with a swipe of your gloved hand. Lights flicker to life. They blink in a panic. The system knows it is dying. You type in your command code. Access granted. You bring up the atmospheric schematics. The lungs of this world are collapsed. You need to perform CPR on a planetary scale. But first, you need to find the source of the blockage. The sensors point to the northern sector, a dead zone. Nothing goes in or out. You grab your med kit. It is not full of bandages or pills. It holds terraforming seeds and nanite injectors. You are a nurse of the void, and you have never lost a patient yet. You head for the airlock. The blast doors slide open with a rusty scream. The wind outside hits you like a physical blow. You lean into the gale, your boots magnetized to the walkway. You march toward the rover parked in the bay. It looks like a tank that decided to become a dune buggy. You climb into the driver's seat. The engine roars to life. It sounds hungry. You punch the throttle. The rover leaps forward into the storm. Visibility is near zero. You drive by instrument readings alone. The radar shows jagged peaks ahead. You navigate the treacherous path. Your destination lies deep within the mountains. The cryovault waits for you there. It holds the ancestors of this colony. They have been asleep for centuries. You need their codes to access the core. The rover climbs the steep incline. Rocks clatter against the hull. You reach the heavy blast doors of the vault. They are sealed tight. You grab your decoder tool. It looks like a fancy garage door opener. You attach it to the panel. Sparks fly as it bypasses the lock. The heavy gears inside begin to turn. The doors part slowly. A blast of stale air hits you. It smells like old books and cold metal. You step inside the darkness. Your flashlight cuts through the gloom. Rows of pods line the walls. Blue lights pulse on their fronts. They look like rows of oversized glow sticks. You walk down the center aisle. Frost covers the glass of the pods. You wipe one clear. A face stares back at you. It is peaceful and unaware of the ruin outside. You check the vital signs on the display. Stable, but weak. You cannot wake them all. The power reserves are too low. You need the elder one. The records say she holds the key. You scan the rows until you find her. Pod 01. Her nameplate is barely legible. You initiate the wake-up sequence. The machine hums a low note. Steam vents from the seals. You hold your breath. Waking a cryosleeper is tricky business. Do it too fast and their brain turns to scramble. Do it too slow and they never wake up. You feather the controls. The lid hisses and pops open. The woman inside gasps. It is a desperate sound. You're there in an instant. You place a hand on her shoulder. You tell her to breathe. She looks at you with wild eyes. She asks if the sky is still blue. You hesitate. You tell her not yet, but it will be. She nods weakly. She trusts you. You help her sit up. Her muscles are atrophied. She points to a locker across the room. She says the map is inside. You go to the locker. The metal is cold to the touch. You pry it open. Inside is a data slate. It is ancient tech, but it powers on. A map projects into the air. It shows a location you do not recognize, the Dark Nebula. It is a region of unstable space. Pilots call it the Star Eater. The Elder, one speaks again. She says the seed of life is hidden there. It is the only thing that can restart the core. You look at the map. It is a suicide mission, but the patient is crashing. You have no other choice. You help the Elder One back into stasis. It is safer for her to sleep. You promise to wake her when the sky is blue. You seal the pod. You grab the data slate. You return to the rover. The storm outside has worsened. Lightning arcs across the purple clouds. You drive back to the ship. Your vessel is small but sturdy. It is built for medical evac. You strap into the pilot seat. You punch in the coordinates from the slate. The nav computer throws a warning. It does not want to go into the nebula. You override the safety protocols. Sometimes you have to break the rules to save a life. The engines flare. You blast off from the surface. Gravity tries to pull you back. You break free of the atmosphere. Space opens up before you. It is vast and silent, but ahead lies the nebula. It looks like a bruise on the face of the universe. Dark tendrils swirl in the void. You engage the hyperdrive. The stars stretch into lines of light. You drop out of warp at the edge of the rift. The sensors go haywire. Radiation levels are critical. You divert power to the shields. The ship shakes as you enter the cloud. Visibility drops to 0 again. It's like flying through ink. Lightning strikes the hull. Alarms blare in the cockpit. You fight the controls. The ship wants to roll. You keep it steady. You are the steady hand in the surgery. You scan for the signal. The slate pings. A path illuminates on your HUD. It leads into the center of the storm. You push the throttle forward. The turbulence is intense. It feels like riding a bull in a tornado. But you see a clearing ahead, a calm eye in the storm. Floating there is a station. It's ancient and overgrown with space moss. This is the hidden lab. You dock your ship. The clamps lock with a heavy thud. You grab your gear. You step into the airlock. The station is silent, but it is not empty. You hear movement in the walls. Drones, the guardians of the seed. You enter the main atrium. They descend from the ceiling. They look like metallic spiders. Red eyes scan you. Weapons charge with a high-pitched whine. You raise your hands. You do not reach for a weapon. You are a healer. You speak to them. You broadcast the codes from the slate. The drones pause. They chatter in binary. It sounds like a modem having a seizure. They are debating your fate. You wait. Sweat trickles down your back. One drone approaches. It scans your medical badge. It recognizes the symbol of the nurse. The red lights turn to blue. They stand down. They chirp a greeting. They guide you to the inner sanctum. The door slides open. In the center of the room is a pedestal. On it sits the seed. It is a crystal pulsing with light. It looks like a captured star. You approach it with reverence. This is the heart transplant your patient needs. You check the containment field. It is degrading. The seed is unstable. It needs a biological rhythm to stabilize. It needs a heartbeat. You connect your suit to the pedestal. You sync your biomonitor to the seed. You take a deep breath. You lower your heart rate. You find a calm rhythm. The seed pulses in time with you. Thump, thump. Thump, thump. The light turns steady. It glows a warm gold. You gently disconnect. The seed holds the rhythm. You place it in a containment unit. You secure it to your belt. You thank the drones. They chirp a farewell. You race back to your ship. The storm is getting worse. The nebula knows you took its prize. You undock. The turbulence hits you instantly. You push the engines to the red line. You blast out of the cloud. You punch it for the planet. You re-enter the atmosphere. The hull glows hot. You land at the main processor. You run to the core chamber. You insert the seed into the slot. The machine roars to life. The ground shakes. The collapse begins. The old atmosphere must die for the new one to live. The sky turns a violent green. Winds howl like banshees. The pressure drops rapidly. It is a chaotic reaction. You monitor the levels. It is going too fast. The crust is cracking. You need to stabilize the pressure. But you cannot do it alone. You broadcast a distress call. You ask for help. Any help. The radio crackles. A voice answers. It is a rough voice. A freighter pilot. He says he has friends. They are nearby. They are coming. You watch the radar. 5 ships descend from the clouds. They are battered hauling vessels. They look beautiful to you. They form a perimeter. They use their engines to create a pressure seal. It is a crazy plan. It just might work. The pilots fire their thrusters. The roar is deafening. They push against the expanding gas. It acts as a tourniquet. The pressure stabilizes. But the danger is not over. A gravity vortex opens above the processor. It is a side effect of the seed. It pulls at the ships. The lead pilot shouts over the comms. He is losing power. You grab the controls of the processor. You need to close the maw. You modulate the frequency. You talk to the pilots. You keep them calm. You tell them to hold the line. Your voice is steady. You are the anchor in the storm. They trust you. They pour power into their engines. The vortex wobbles. You hit the final sequence. The seed releases a massive pulse. The vortex snaps shut. Silence falls. The wind dies down. You step out onto the balcony. The air is still. Dust settles on the ground. You wait. Then you feel it. A breeze. It is not cold or harsh. It is warm. You check your gauntlet. Oxygen levels are rising. The red line turns green. You pop the seal on your helmet. You take a breath. It tastes sweet. It tastes like life. You look out at the plane. The pilots land their ships. They step out and cheer. You smile. But the work continues. You activate the nanite sprinklers. They spray a fine mist over the land. It is instant fertilizer. You watch as the ground shifts. Brown turns to green. Tiny shoots poke through the soil. Grass spreads like a wildfire. Trees shoot up in seconds. It is a time-lapse happening in real time. Flowers bloom in explosions of color. The gray rock is covered in moss. The air smells of pine and rain. You walk through the new forest. You touch the bark of a tree. It is real. You look up. The clouds part. The sun breaks through. It hits the new ocean forming in the distance. Water glitters like diamonds. It is no longer a dead world. It is a garden. You return to the vault. You wake the elder, one. You help her outside. She weeps at the sight. She falls to her knees in the grass. She looks at you. She calls you a miracle worker. You shake your head. You are just a nurse. You did your job. The survivors gather around you. The pilots join them. They form a circle. They make a pact. They swear to protect this air. They will never let it choke again. They ask for your guidance. You give them the rules of care. Respect the cycle. Do not take more than you give. Tend the garden. They nod solemnly. It is the covenant of care. It will guide them for generations. You look at the sky. Your work here is done. The patient is discharged. But your gauntlet beeps. A new signal, faint and distant. Another world is calling. Another patient is dying. You feel the pull. You are a traveler. You cannot stay. You pack your gear. You say your goodbyes. They try to make you stay. They want to build statues. You tell them to plant trees instead. You climb back into your ship. The engines hum a happy tune. You launch into the blue sky. You break orbit. You look back one last time. The planet is a blue and green marble. It is healthy. You set a course for the signal. The stars await. Stories of the nurse begin to spread. Pilots tell them in cantinas. Elders tell them to children. They speak of the one who heals worlds. They say you carry life in your pockets. They say you can fix a broken sky. You are a legend among the starborn. But to you, you are just doing your rounds. The universe is a big hospital, and there are many patients waiting. You engage the warp drive. The stars streak by. On to the next one.